Okay, so we've got Children of the Stars. This one landed on my desk with a note from you saying it's a kid's story, but with some pretty out there ideas about the universe kind of hidden between the lines.
Yeah, it's actually gotten pretty popular with certain groups, but it's definitely controversial too.
You mentioned something about a boy from Chile, an alien, and some unconventional wisdom.
Exactly. It's almost like somebody took this classic sci-fi idea, the alien encounter, and then mixed it with a self-help book.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
The thing that really gets me is how the book manages to be both kind of sweet and innocent, but also strangely thought-provoking at the same time.
Yeah.
It plays with these familiar ideas we have about good and evil technology and spirituality, but then it flips them upside down in a way that makes you question everything you thought you knew.
Okay, so let's set the scene.
Yeah.
10-year-old Pedro is hanging out at his grandma's place by the beach in Chile when he sees this red light out in the ocean.
Dramatic music.
Right, cue the dramatic music. Something comes out of the water, and it's not quite what you'd expect.
It's a tiny alien who looks a lot like a human child.
Okay, so we're already in strange territory.
Right, meet Ami, our pint-sized extraterrestrial visitor. He says he's centuries old, but conveniently looks like he could be in Pedro's class at school.
That's convenient.
And here's another layer to it. The book is written as if Pedro is telling us about his time with Ami, and it even claims to be dictated by Ami himself.
So is this supposed to be a true story? A clever writing trick? Or just a way to make some pretty wild claims seem more believable?
That's the mystery, isn't it? And one of those wild claims is that there are oval advanced civilizations out there in the universe.
Wait a minute, did somebody forget to tell the Pentagon about this?
Apparently, according to Ami, any species that's figured out interstellar travel has to be super peaceful and cooperative. Otherwise, they would have blown themselves up ages ago before they ever got spaceships working.
So you're telling me all those sci-fi movies about alien invasions are just fear-mongering?
Well, it's an interesting idea for sure. But it's also pretty convenient for our little alien friend, isn't it?
Yeah.
No need to worry about hostile takeovers when every alien out there is basically a cosmic pacifist.
I see what you mean. But okay, so if these advanced beings are so peaceful and evolved, why all the secrecy? Why not just land on the White House lawn and share their infinite wisdom with the world?
Ah, that's the big question. And Ami has some interesting answers. The usual things, mass panic fear, world leaders wouldn't listen anyway.
The classic alien excuses.
But it does make you wonder, if they're so worried about messing with our development, why even bother showing up at all?
Especially to a 10-year-old kid in Chile. Is Pedro some kind of chosen one, the cosmic ambassador to humanity?
Well, the book says their whole interaction has a very specific purpose: to spread knowledge through Pedro's book. Apparently, having a child tell the story makes it more believable, less likely to be dismissed as, some crazy ramblings.
The old, it's just a children's story defense, huh? Clever. But okay, let's talk about this so-called wisdom. The book seems really fixated on this idea of tech versus love. It argues that any society needs a balance of both to really thrive. Too much tech and you end up self-destructing. Too much love and you're stuck in a charming but technologically backwards mud hut.
It's like the author took this classic dilemma, heart versus head, and then projected it onto the whole universe.
Right, I can see that.
And while it's an interesting thought experiment, it also feels a bit oversimplified, don't you think? Like, can we really reduce all the complexities of civilization down to a simple equation?
Yeah, and what exactly do they mean by love anyway? Are we talking about romantic love, platonic love, or the love of a good pizza?
Well, in Children of the Stars, love isn't just a feeling. It's presented as this fundamental energy that makes up the entire universe. It's vibrating at different frequencies to create everything from rocks to thoughts.
I think that's a new one.
Higher civilizations, according to Ami, can directly experience this universal love while we're stuck down here fumbling around with our primitive emotions.
So basically, we're all just love-deficient beings stumbling around in the dark. That's comforting.
But don't worry, the book says we can evolve. We just need to dish our material possessions, embrace the cosmic love vibes, and maybe take up meditation. Oh, and did I mention that all the super evolved beings are vegetarians?
Of course they are. Giant, peaceful, salad-munching vegetarians living on utopian planets. Sounds idyllic in a slightly boring kind of way. But that's where we're headed right? Planet Ophelia, the land of gentle giants and cosmic enlightenment.
That's right. Buckle up because it's about to get weird. Planet Ophelia is basically everything. Earth is not peaceful, harmonious, and technologically advanced, but in a way that somehow doesn't involve any environmental destruction or social inequality.
Right, because that's totally realistic.
Yeah.
But hey, it's a children's book, right? We're supposed to suspend disbelief and embrace the fairy tale. So tell me more about these giant humans. Do they wear clothes? Do they have pets? Do they struggle with back pain? I have so many questions.
Well, the book doesn't really go into those specifics, unfortunately, but it does emphasize how different their way of life is from ours. They don't have money, no possessions, and they spend their days learning, serving others, and playing. Lots and lots of playing.
Sounds exhausting, all that learning and serving. Where's the time for Netflix and chill?
That's the thing on planet Ophelia. There's no need for mindless entertainment. They're so connected to the universe, so in tune with the cosmic love flow that they find joy in simply existing.
Okay, I'm officially jealous. But let's be real. I'm not sure I'm ready to give up my smartphone and move to a planet ruled by giant telepathic vegans. But I am curious about how we mere mortals are supposed to reach this level of enlightenment.
Ugh, that's where the evolution index comes in. It's this mysterious metric that Ami uses to measure a person's spiritual and intellectual development. And apparently, humans aren't doing so well on that front.
Oh no, what's our score? Are we failing cosmic kindergarten?
Well, that's what we'll be unpacking in the next part of our deep dive, so stay tuned because things are about to get even weirder.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Children of the Stars. Remember how we left off? Giant, peaceful vegans.
Oh, yeah, I remember those guys.
Well, right before we got to them, we were starting to talk about this idea, the evolution index. It's like this cosmic measuring stick for how spiritually and intellectually evolved you are.
Right. So is it like those charts you see online? You know, level 1, you can operate a microwave. Level 2, you finally understand the offside rule in soccer.
Not exactly. It's not quite that simple.
Okay, so no handy chart. But how does it work then? Well, Ami, our alien buddy, claims he's got this device called the evolution index measurer, which conveniently is never really explained. But it can supposedly assess your inner qualities, your alignment with this universal love and all that.
Sounds pretty subjective. I mean, who gets to decide what counts as evolved? Is it all about how much kale you eat? Or if you can levitate during meditation?
Well, according to Ami, just being really smart isn't enough. He specifically mentions Pedro's uncle, who's this brilliant atomic physicist.
So he's a super smart guy.
Exactly, but Ami says he wouldn't score very high on the evolution index.
Why not? Because he's got a big brain.
Something about working on laser weapons not being very good for your spiritual growth.
Ouch. So brains aren't everything. Got it. But what about Pedro himself? He's the main character in this cosmic adventure, so he must be pretty high up there, right?
You'd think so, right? But Ami never actually says what Pedro's score is.
Really? Come on, that's not fair.
He just hints that it's not low and that knowing the exact number could go to his head or make him feel bad.
Classic Ami. A little bit of cosmic mind games.
Maybe. But, okay, so how are WE supposed to know if we're on the right track? What's the average score for us regular folks down here on Earth? Get ready for this. According to Ami, the average human scores a measly 550.
550. Out of what?
The scale goes from 300 to 800. But don't worry, he says there are some overachievers among us.
Oh, good. I was starting to feel bad about my cosmic score.
He mentions some doctors and spiritual leaders who score much higher.
So there's hope for humanity yet.
Exactly. Everyone has the potential to evolve. It just takes some effort and a willingness to let go of your ego.
And probably recycle more, right? You can't be truly evolved while driving a gas guzzler. But, okay, back to Ami. Where does he rank on this cosmic scale? He's the interstellar life coach, after all, so he must be racking up some serious evolution points.
He says his score is 760, which according to him is above average, but not quite in the realm of super evolved beings.
So he's like the friendly tutor who's just a bit ahead of the class, but still has a lot to learn himself.
Exactly. Now here's where things take a turn for the truly bizarre. The book claims that even stars have evolution indexes. And get this, our sun supposedly scores over 10,000.
The sun has an evolution index. What is this cosmic gulf?
I know, right? But it gets even weirder. The book suggests that the sun is actually inhabited by super evolved beings whose bodies emit light.
Wait, hold on. So you're telling me the sun is like a giant retirement community for cosmic overachievers?
That's what the book seems to be suggesting.
My head is spinning. Evolving stars, aliens with scorecards, and humans trying to pass cosmic ethics class. It's a lot to take in.
I hear you. But okay, remember the ending. Ami takes Pedro on this incredible journey, shares all this mind-blowing wisdom, and then just poof, disappears.
Oh yeah, it was kind of abrupt.
He drops Pedro back on Earth with this vague promise of meeting again someday. No explanation, no coordinates, just a cosmic see ya later alligator.
It's like the author hit a wall and just decided to end it with a giant question mark. But maybe that was the point all along.
Maybe. To leave the reader with more questions than answers, a sense of wonder and this lingering suspicion that maybe there's more to reality than we think.
Or maybe it's just a really good way to set up a sequel, Pedro and Ami's Galactic Adventures.
Uh-huh. Could be. But before we go down that rabbit hole, let's take a step back and think about the book's lasting impact. Did it actually change anything? Did it inspire people to embrace love, ditch their stuff, and start chanting to the sun?
That's what we'll be talking about in the final part of our deep dive. So get ready, folks, because we're about to analyze the legacy of Children of the Stars. Did it change the world? Or did it at least make people think? Okay, so we've spent some time with Children of the Stars. This book that's kind of a weird mix of kid's story, a self-help guide, and, I don't know, maybe a cosmic joke.
Right. It definitely leaves you with more questions than answers.
Exactly. So the big question is, does this book actually hold up? Did it change the world? Did it at least convince a few people to trade in their iPhones for kale smoothies?
Well, it definitely offers a tempting vision, right? This universe where love is in charge, a planet where everyone's happy, and the promise that you can evolve just by embracing good vibes.
It's like a cosmic fairy tale.
Yeah. And that message really speaks to us, this deep desire we all have for meaning, connection, and this feeling that there's got to be more to life than just working and paying bills.
Like a cosmic security blanket telling us that everything's going to be all right.
Exactly. But let's be honest here. Is that really how change happens? Or is it just a nice fantasy that lets us avoid dealing with the real problems in the world?
That's a good point. I mean, it's easy to get caught up in the feel-good stuff. But what about all the systemic issues? Inequality, injustice, exploitation. Does Children of the Stars even mention those things?
Well, the book does touch on the idea of global unity and building a society based on love and cooperation.
Okay, so it acknowledges those things.
Yeah. But it doesn't really offer any practical solutions for how to actually get there. It's more about changing our individual mindsets rather than fixing the systems that create these problems in the first place.
So it's like saying, don't worry about fixing the broken parts. Just focus on being happy and everything will magically work itself out.
Right. It's a utopia without the messy hard work it takes to actually build one. It's like giving someone a treasure map, but forgetting to mention the sharks and the storms along the way.
So is Children of the Stars just a harmless fantasy then?
Yeah.
A nice distraction from reality? Or could it actually be harmful?
That's the tricky part. I mean, it's important to have hope, to believe that things can get better. And stories like this can spark our imaginations, challenge the way things are, and make us want something more than just material possessions.
But there's a danger in believing those fantasies too much, right?
Exactly, because if we start thinking that meditation and good vibes are the answer to everything, we might start trying to make real change happen.
It's like the difference between wishing for world peace and actually working to stop wars.
Right. One is passive, the other takes real effort and a willingness to face some uncomfortable truths.
So what's the verdict then? Is Children of the Stars a force for good or just a cosmic distraction? I think it's safe to say the impact has been mixed.
It's definitely gotten people talking and thinking and maybe even inspire some people to live more mindfully. But did it lead to any big changes in the world?
Hard to say.
The evidence is a little fuzzy.
Maybe that's not the point, though. Maybe the real value of a book like this isn't about finding all the answers.
It's about asking the right questions, making us think about what kind of world we want and how we can get there.
Exactly. So to everyone listening, we leave you with this. Children of the Stars might not have all the answers, but it definitely asks some important questions. What kind of world do W want to create? What role do love, compassion, and cooperation play in that world? And how can we move beyond just wishing for things and actually start building that world? Those are the questions we should all be asking ourselves. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Children of the Stars. Keep those minds open, keep those hearts engaged, and keep searching for those stars, both out there in the universe and within ourselves.